Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Let's get started. Our top story tonight on Gravitas focuses on Syria. Deadly clashes with former President Bashar al-Assad's administration forces in the countryside have killed at least 17 police officers. How exactly did things even escalate to this point? And what happens here onwards? We decode this and more in just a bit for you. And here's a look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. China has unveiled plans for the history's most ambitious hydroelectric project in Tibet. What exactly does this mean for the region and what is known so far? We get you a detailed report. Russia's Federal Security Service, FSB, the security agency says that it has thwarted multiple assassination plots allegedly orchestrated by Ukraine's intelligence services. We get you the complete story. Also, China seems to have come up with a way to beat the scorching heat. Have you ever heard of a sunscreen that lowers your body temperature? We tell you more. This and more coming up. Our top story tonight on Gravitas focuses on the latest from Syria, where the new administration led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, is facing major challenges. After toppling the Assad regime in a bloodless coup just over 2 weeks ago, HTS finds itself battling unrest, resistance, and growing tensions, both within the country and from its regional neighbors. In Tartous, remnants of the ousted Assad regime reportedly ambushed and killed at least 17 police officers. The attackers reportedly also injured 10 others. As per local reports, the Syrian Interior Minister, Mohammad Abdul Rahman, has vowed swift action, stating that anyone threatening Syria's stability or its citizens would face severe consequences. The ambush reportedly occurred as security forces attempted to apprehend a former officer linked to abuses at a prison near Damascus. As per reports, there is an ongoing crackdown on pro-Assad militias in the region, with arrests already underway. Syria is reportedly engulfed in sectarian and political tensions. A video has reportedly surfaced showing a shrine in Aleppo being desecrated. Armed men were reportedly seen vandalizing the site and posing near human remains. The video, believed to date back to November, incited protests across cities like Latakia, Jable, and Tartous. Amid the outrage, Syrian police imposed curfews in these cities. The Syrian Interior Ministry reportedly said the video circulation aims to ignite sectarian violence. Demonstrations, particularly in homes, have been driven by members of the Alawite and Shia communities, minority groups that traditionally supported the Assad regime. Residents in these cities are reportedly claiming the protests are in response to recent threats and violence targeting their communities. HTS now finds itself walking on a tightrope. The new administration has on multiple occasions pledged to protect minority groups. As per reports, high-level meetings held late Wednesday reportedly explored options for dealing with Assad loyalists, including a potential large-scale crackdown. However, fears of sparking a bloody confrontation are reportedly holding HTS back. Just for context here, for nearly a quarter of a century, Bashar al-Assad ruled Syria with an iron grip, following his father's legacy. But on December 8, as HTS forces reached closer to Damascus, Assad fled to Russia. And now, as HTS tries to consolidate power, the country remains on edge. In Latakia and Tartous, tensions are reportedly particularly high. Reinforcements have been deployed, but skirmishes and unrest continue. Meanwhile, in Manbij, northern Syria, there are reports of clashes erupting between Kurdish forces and the Syrian National Army, backed by Turkey. You see, the Kurds, supported by the United States, controlled northeastern Syria for nearly a decade. However, Turkey views the Kurdish YPG militia as an extension of the PKK, a group outlawed in Turkey. The Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Wednesday issued a stark warning, urging Kurdish fighters to disarm or face annihilation.
We are determined to crush the heads of terrorist organizations that threaten the perpetuity of both countries, starting with Islamic State and the PKK. As I said after the cabinet meeting, the old conditions are impossible. The separatist murderers will either bid farewell to their weapons or they will be buried in Syrian lands along with their weapons.
And Ankara's involvement does not end there, by the way. Following Assad's ouster, Turkey has reportedly positioned itself as a key power broker in Syria's future. And this move has inflamed tensions with Iran, a staunch ally of the former Assad regime. The foreign policy advisor to Iran's supreme leader accused Turkey of collaborating with Western and Israeli-backed forces to destabilize Syria. Early this week, a senior Iranian cleric even openly criticized Ankara, blaming Turkey for Assad's downfall and warned Erdogan of dire consequences. The rivalry between these regional powers in West Asia further complicating Syria's already precarious situation. Domestically, Syria faces more unrest in the Christian majority town of Souqe Labia. Anger flared after a Christmas tree was set ablaze in the town square. The incident, captured on video and shared widely, sparked protests demanding better protection for religious minorities. HTS said that foreign fighters were responsible for the act and that they have been detained. Furthermore, leaders of the group reaffirmed their commitment to safeguarding Syria's diverse religious and ethnic communities. But you see, for many Syrians, trust in HTS reportedly remains tenuous. The bloodless coup that toppled Assad brought about hope for change. But sectarian divides, regional tensions, and unresolved territorial disputes threaten HTS's hold on power. The situation in Syria remains volatile, to say the least. The question is, can HTS counter these challenges? Is this just a passing phase? Or will Syria plunge deeper into chaos? Is this a sign of things to come? Meanwhile, the IDF has seized over 85,000 Hezbollah weapons from over 30 villages in southern Lebanon during the Lebanon war. These include weapons such as around 2,200 large rockets, 6,800 small anti-tank missiles and rockets, 340 advanced Cornet missiles, 60 anti-aircraft missiles, and 20 vehicles equipped with firing over a dozen rockets at a time. Meanwhile, the IDF has also seized 9,000 IEDs, 5,500 guns, and around 61,000 Hezbollah-linked electronic items, equipment, and documents. The IDF also announced that it killed more than 3,800 Hezbollah fighters and injured around 9,000 since the start of the war. Around 3,000 Hezbollah fighters were reportedly killed since mid-September. Former Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant in October had said that around 80% of Hezbollah's large-scale firepower had been destroyed. The IDF on Wednesday said that 75% of Hezbollah's short-range rockets and 70% of strategic weapons have been destroyed. While Hezbollah's ammunition of around 40,000 mortars has also been reduced to 6,000 to 8,000. Adding that strategic and long-range rockets has been reduced to around 100 from 1,000. Before the war, the IDF had reportedly estimated that Hezbollah's larger weapons, including mortars, stood at around 150,000. A Reuters report at the start of the month stated that Hezbollah is in the process of rebuilding its stockpiles and forces based on US intel. The report further highlighted that Hezbollah had begun to recruit new fighters and was trying to find ways to rearm through domestic production and by smuggling materials through Syria. It's important to note that when the report had been published, Syria was still under the control of Bashar al-Assad, a close ally of Hezbollah and Iran. But this is all changed within a few days. As HTS forces started advancing towards Damascus, Assad fled and sought refuge in Russia. And shifting our focus now to what Russia's Federal Security Service, or FSB, has said. It said that it has thwarted multiple assassination plots allegedly orchestrated by Ukraine's intelligence services. What were the targets, according to it? High-ranking Russian military officials and their families. In fact, the FSB says these plans involved bombs cleverly disguised as everyday items like power banks and document folders intended to strike in the heart of Moscow. The security agency, FSB, by the way, is the main successor to the Soviet-era KGB. FSB officials reportedly described the plots as sophisticated and aimed at destabilizing Russia's leadership. According to the FSB, in one plot, a Russian citizen recruited by Ukrainian intelligence was tasked with planting a magnetic bomb under a senior defense ministry official's car. This explosive device was reportedly disguised as a portable charger. Another operative had been tasked with conducting surveillance on top Russian military figures. The FSB also saying that there was a plot of delivering a bomb disguised as a simple documents folder, with one suspect allegedly retrieving a bomb on December 23. However, the exact dates for these planned attacks remain unclear. In a statement, the FSB said that they had prevented a series of assassination attempts on high-ranking military personnel of the Defense Ministry, adding that 4 Russian citizens involved in the preparation of these attacks had been detained. Footage aired on Russian state television reportedly showing some of these suspects confessing to their roles, claiming to have received orders and materials directly from Ukrainian intelligence. Even in isolation, the foiling of these Ukrainian plots by Russia is extremely significant. But that's not all. There is greater context to this. You see, the FSB statements come less than 2 weeks after a top Russian general overseeing the country's nuclear, biological and chemical defense programs was killed in Moscow. The general died when a bomb attached to an electric scooter detonated outside his apartment building. Ukraine's SBU intelligence agency has reportedly admitted to carrying out that attack. Russia called the killing a terrorist attack by Kiev and vowed revenge. Last Friday, Russia fired hypersonic missiles and Iskander ballistic missiles targeting key locations in Kiev. The Russian Ministry of Defense described the attack as a direct response to Kiev's missile strike on Rostov. All of this marking a rather dangerous chapter for the Russia-Ukraine war, the end to which is nowhere in sight as of now. Amid a raging missile and drone battle between Ukraine and Russia, 2 incidents caught global attention. A plane crash in Kazakhstan and the sinking of a Russian cargo ship off the Spanish coast. The Kremlin has cautioned against hypotheses over the Azerbaijani plane crash as experts point to possible evidence of a missile explosion. Our next story tries to look into the unanswered questions.
Two big incidents in the last 3 days. An Azerbaijan airplane crash that happened in Kazakhstan and the sinking of a Russian cargo ship in international waters of Spain that have caught global attention and have created headlines. These have now sparked several conspiracy theories and claims about the plane being shot down and the ship being targeted in a terrorist attack. On Wednesday, an airplane of Azerbaijan Airlines crashed in Kazakhstan, killing 38 people. While out of the 67 people on board the Embraer 190 aircraft, 29 survived. Initially, it was suggested that the crash was caused by a collision with birds. But soon after, conspiracy theories were rife that the plane was in fact shot down, as the images and footage of the plane's fuselage showed holes resembling shrapnel or bullet marks, casting doubt on the original explanation that a bird flock hit the plane, leading to the crash. Now, the sabotage theories also claim that the plane could have been shot down amid the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine, as the conflict zone is not very far from the site of the crash. Some reports, in fact, also claim, suggesting to back the conspiracy theory, that the pilots sent a distress call around the time Russian air defense was responding to a Ukrainian drone attack. Now, Azerbaijan Airlines flight J28243 was traveling from the Azerbaijani capital Baku to Grozny in the Russian region of Chechnya before it made an emergency landing approximately 3 kilometers from Aktau. The flight had flown hundreds of kilometers off its scheduled route to crash on the opposite shore of the Caspian Sea. Flight tracker shows the route of the passenger plane that headed towards Aktau in Kazakhstan after it failed to make a landing attempt in Chechen Republic's Grozny. Now, inside the plane, passengers were seen wearing oxygen masks in the cabin before the plane crashed in Kazakhstan, killing 38 people. Now, in the other incident that took place on the 23rd of December, a Russian military cargo ship sank in the Mediterranean Sea. Initially, Russian Foreign Ministry Crisis Unit said that the ship went down after an explosion in the engine room. But now, the Russian state-owned company Oberon Logistica has said that the ship was the target of a terrorist attack. The company, in a statement cited by Russian news agencies, said that it thinks a targeted terrorist attack was committed on the 23rd of December 2024 against the Ursa Major cargo ship. The ship sank in international waters of Spain in early hours of Tuesday after having sent a distress call for help on Monday. Now, the company belonging to the Russian Defense Ministry added that 3 consecutive explosions took place on the ship before it began taking on water. Oberon Logistica did not indicate who may have been behind the attack or why. It also did not say what evidence it had to conclude that this was a terrorist attack that sank the ship.
In an age of rapidly advancing military technology, hypersonic missiles have emerged as a game changer in a way as global tensions continue to mount. From the war in Ukraine to West Asia, these weapons are proving to be indispensable in rendering and making traditional air defense systems obsolete in a way with their sheer velocity, maneuverability, and unpredictability.
Think of hypersonic missiles as the stealth bombers of our generation. Except they're faster, more agile, and virtually impossible to stop with current technology. The ongoing wars in Ukraine and West Asia have transformed hypersonic weapons from a theoretical concern to a battlefield reality. Yemen's Houthi rebels launched a missile attack targeting central Israel. The Iran-backed group claims firing Palestine 2 missile, which breached Israel's Iron Dome, long considered the gold standard in missile defense. It is claimed that the missile flew at the speed of Mach 9, sending shockwaves through defense establishments worldwide.
استهدفت القوة الصاروخية.
The missile force, with the help of Allah Almighty, targeted a military target of the Israeli enemy in the occupied area of Jaffa using a hypersonic ballistic missile of the Palestine II type. The operation successfully achieved its objectives by the grace of Allah.
حققت العملية أهدافها بنجاح بفضل الله.
Russia's Oreshnik missile, screaming through the atmosphere at a speed of more than Mach 10, represents something unprecedented in military history. For the first time in warfare, such hypersonic weapons are being used regularly. The Russian president, boasting of its capabilities, challenged the West for a missile duel.
There is no chance to shoot down these missiles. Well, if those Western experts you mentioned think so, we propose them and those in the West and the United States who pay them for their analysis to conduct some kind of a technological experiment, a high-tech duel for the 21st century.
The war in Ukraine, missile strikes in West Asia, and rising tension in East Asia all point to one conclusion. Hypersonic missiles are rendering modern air defense systems almost irrelevant. In October, China tested 4th generation Dongfeng 41, its deadliest intercontinental ballistic missile. China is rapidly testing and deploying similar systems. The Americans have Trident II in their arsenal, which was first deployed in 1990. The ICBM can carry a payload of up to 2,800 kgs. Even North Korea claims to have joined the hypersonic arms race. Their Hwasong 15 has all of the continental US in its range. Apart from Oreshnik, Kinzhal and Zircon, Russia's long-range operational missile is Sarmat, which is capable of hitting targets from up to 18,000 kilometers away. India is developing BrahMos 2 in collaboration with Russia. The missile can reach speeds of Mach 8 and has a range of 600 kilometers. The key advantage of hypersonic weapons lies in their boost glide capability. They can re-enter the atmosphere quickly while maintaining guided flight. Missiles like Oreshnik and ICBMs are armed with multiple warheads, which make them even deadlier. Hypersonic missiles use aerodynamic lift to perform evasive maneuvers within the atmosphere. Striking targets with surgical precision, this leaves defense systems with mere seconds to respond, an almost impossible task. The implications are stark. Missile defense systems must be radically reimagined, and nations must prioritize investing in counter-hypersonic technologies. Hypersonics are not just the weapon of tomorrow. They are rapidly shaping the battlefield today. Ignoring them is not just strategic negligence, it's a direct invitation to vulnerability. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Shifting focus for now, China has unveiled plans for history's most ambitious hydroelectric project in Tibet. The controversial dam threatens to reshape regional power dynamics and rings and causes alarm bells to be ringing about environmental sustainability as well. Our next story telling you more about China's ambitions and the resultant concerns.
Beijing is charging ahead with the construction of a mammoth hydropower dam in Tibet. The superstructure would dwarf all previous projects. The dam's colossal footprint extends far beyond China's borders. The $137 billion behemoth will generate a staggering 300 billion kilowatt hours annually. That's 3 times the capacity of the Three Gorges Dam. Beijing has not given any date for starting construction. The Three Gorges Dam is the world's largest capacity hydroelectric power station. It reached its full generating capacity in 2012. It was also intended to provide protection from floods, but efficacy on this point is unclear and has been debated. Construction of the dam that began in 1994 displaced at least 1.3 million people. It led to the destruction of natural features and countless rare architectural and archaeological sites. But China is now embarking on a bigger project where engineers face unprecedented challenges in the seismically active region. Experts have repeatedly warned the fragile Tibetan plateau is already under immense environmental stress, and the dam could increase its vulnerability. The Yarlung Tsangpo River in Tibet that transforms into the Brahmaputra as it flows into India and Bangladesh is a critical water source for millions. India has expressed concerns about potential disruptions to water flow that could impact agriculture and livelihoods. There is also apprehension that China could use the dam as a geopolitical tool, controlling water flow to exert pressure on downstream nations. Beijing hails it as a cornerstone of its carbon neutrality goals, asserting its significance in securing clean energy for the future. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
In this day and age, how safe are you from cyber attacks? And while you chew on that, let me ask you this. When you book a flight, how frustrating is it for the flight to get cancelled? Very, right? Weather-related conditions, fog, etc. could throw your travel plans up in the air. But what if it's not these elements playing spoil sport? What if it's a cyber attack affecting the airline's functioning? That's exactly what happened today. Japan Airlines on Thursday reported a cyber attack. According to the public broadcaster NHK, problems with the airline's baggage check-in system had delayed more than a dozen flights at several Japanese airports, but thankfully there were no mass cancellations or major disruption. It has said its systems returned to normal with same-day ticket sales resuming after the cyber attack delayed some domestic and international flights. The attack, which began at 7:24 a.m. local time, affected both internal and external systems, prompting it to temporarily shut down a malfunctioning router and suspend ticket sales for flights departing on Thursday. Just for context here, Japan Airlines is the country's second biggest airline after all Nippon Airways. The airline said earlier that the attack affected internal and external systems. In fact, as per the latest, no customer information was leaked, but the company also said that it suffered no damage from computer viruses. As this post-Christmas Day travel disruption made headlines, let's just take a step back and talk about why this is all the more significant and the fact that this is not an isolated case. The fact is, cyber attacks have been on the rise, affecting our lives in multiple ways. And when an airline gets affected, you can only imagine the far-reaching implications. In fact, in Japan itself, there have been a string of cyber attacks. Ironically, the agency responsible for defenses against cyber attacks was itself reportedly infiltrated by hackers in 2023. Wait till you hear this. Reportedly for as long as 9 months. It's called Japan's National Center of Incident Readiness and Strategy for Cybersecurity. More recently, the popular Japanese video sharing website Nico Nico suspended its services in June because it was under a large-scale cyber attack reportedly. Not just that, Japan's space agency said in 2023 that it was likely penetrated by a cyber attack by unknown entities, but no sensitive information about rockets or satellites was accessed. The same year, Nagoya port, one of Japan's busiest, was crippled by a ransomware attack that was blamed on Logbit, a Russia-based cybercrime organization. All in all, think about it. This is how vulnerable we are at the end of the day. This is how vulnerable our world today is to cyber attacks. Shifting focus for now, US President-elect Donald Trump unleashed a torrent of 34 social media posts within an hour, painting a vivid picture of his ambitions and his agenda. The rapid-fire messages ranging from territorial expansion plans to personal jibes, offering a preview of America's potential foreign policy direction. Our next report telling you more.
It's my tremendous honor to finally wish America and the world a very Merry Christmas.
Among his barrage of posts, a meme stood out. Trump smirking at former President Barack Obama during the 2017 inauguration, captioned, "When you see the guy who said you'll never be president at your inauguration." Trump's Christmas wishes read more like a blueprint for American expansion, doubling down on his recent claims both the Panama Canal and Greenland, while introducing a bold new vision of annexing Canada as the 51st state. His message to China about illegally operating the Panama Canal carries ominous undertones of potential confrontation. Trump again took a dig at Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, calling him governor, and once again asking the country to become the 51st state of America. In the festive spirit, Trump sweetened his offer of reducing tariffs by adding that they would be militarily protected like no other country anywhere in the world. In his mockery, Trump also suggested that the National Hockey League legend Wayne Gretzky should lead the country. Trudeau's job is currently on the line after the surprise resignation of Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland, who clashed with her boss over Trump's threats to impose 25% tariffs on Canadian imports. Adding salt to the insult, Moscow came up with a concerning statement. The Russian Foreign Ministry hinted that Canada's sovereignty is under threat. Trump's Christmas posts reveal his strategy: dominate headlines, ridicule adversaries, and reinforce his nationalist agenda. While Americans have been puzzled about the mystery drone sightings, the outgoing American President Joe Biden commissioned a drone-shot video giving a rare look inside the White House, while urging unity and reflection in this Christmas video. Happy holidays. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
We ask that God will continue to bless this nation, and we pray that He will grant every American family a Christmas season full of joy, hope, and peace.
In the latest incident of disruption in the Baltic Sea, an undersea power cable between Finland and Estonia broke down after suffering damage. Finnish officials have not ruled out a sabotage attempt to purposefully damage the power cable line. In fact, this is not an isolated incident and hence has raised concern. Investigations are underway to determine if there were any intentional malicious actions. Authorities have been on the edge about undersea infrastructure in the Baltic being affected. Two telecom cables in the Baltic linking Sweden and Denmark, remember, were also cut last month. One running between Finland and Germany and another between Lithuania and Sweden was severed. Before that, a Finnish-Estonian undersea gas pipeline was damaged in October as a Chinese cargo ship reportedly dropped its anchor. In the November incident, suspicion fell on the Chinese ship Yipeng 3, which according to tracking sites had sailed over the cables around the time they were cut. Earlier this week, Sweden said that China had denied a request for prosecutors to investigate the vessel and that it had left the area. a vessel Xin Tian 2, which sails under the flag of Hong Kong and is allegedly a sister ship of the Chinese New Polar Bear, reportedly passed over the S-Link 2 cable around the same time the S-Link 2 outage occurred on Christmas Day. The Finnish Prime Minister has said that authorities were investigating the matter. In fact, he said the interruption would not affect electricity supplies in Finland. Estonian network operator Elering saying that there was enough spare capacity to meet power needs on the Estonian side. Shifting focus for now, Western sanctions aimed at isolating Russia seem to not do much to deter the drive for luxury. With major brands still operating in the country, the effectiveness of sanctions is once again in the spotlight. Take a look.
Despite the West imposing stringent sanctions on Russia and banning the export of luxury goods, Moscow's high-end markets are thriving. Iconic shopping hubs continue to stock Western brands such as Prada and Yves Saint Laurent, even though these brands have officially exited Russia. Trade data highlights a sharp increase in exports from countries like Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and Azerbaijan, key intermediaries facilitating the flow of luxury goods into Russia. For Moscow's consumers, sanctions have made access slightly more complex but far from impossible.
To be honest, I haven't noticed any suffering on the market or a blatant lack of something. It's become more complicated to come across some things, but everything is possible. A lot of buyers have appeared. It's a whole new area in fashion, so I think we quickly adapted to all these formats.
Russian retailers and buyers have devised alternative supply chains to meet the demand for luxury goods. Buyers who directly source products from boutiques in Paris, Milan, and London are playing a critical role in this process. Retailers like SUM even advertise their prices as more competitive than Dubai, now a major destination for wealthy Russians who face travel restrictions to Europe. Meanwhile, luxury sales in Dubai have surged, showcasing the global shift caused by sanctions. That the resilience of Moscow's luxury market signals the limitations of sanctions aimed at isolating Russia economically. While some brands like Chanel and Hermes have officially left, their goods remain available through unofficial channels. Many Western companies are also holding on to their Moscow properties, signaling intentions to return when the geopolitical climate changes. With sustained demand and creative supply routes, it seems like the allure of luxury in Russia remains undiminished. Business Bureau Report, WION World is One.
China seems to have come up with a way to beat the scorching heat. How exactly? Well, we all use sunscreen to protect ourselves from harmful UV rays, but have you ever heard of a sunscreen that lowers your body temperature? Is that even possible? Scientists in China say they have developed a cooling sunscreen that lowers the skin temperature by up to 6 degrees Celsius. Scientists claim the sunscreen not only has a cooling effect, but is also waterproof. It is the ideal solution in a way for outdoor workers who are continuously exposed to the sun. How exactly does it work though? The team from Beijing University says the sunscreen offers protection equivalent to a factor 51 sunblock after 12 hours of continuous exposure to strong ultraviolet radiation. Chinese scientists argue that humans must adapt as climate change leads to extreme weather. They say adapting to heat is more challenging than dealing with cold. So what exactly is the science behind this cooling sunscreen? The team created the new sunscreen formula using radiative cooling technology, which basically dissipates heat as thermal radiation into outer space. In the past, the same concept, in fact, has been used for other cooling products like paints, ceramics that reflect sunlight basically. The scientists mixed titanium dioxide nanoparticles, a whitish mineral widely used in existing sunscreens to reflect both UV light and solar heat. Scientists say if unprotected, skin would take 10 minutes to burn. It will take 510 minutes longer for skin to react when using this new sunblock. That's what they say. The team has, it says, found the answers to another problem which comes to the use of sunscreen. The problem lies in the whitish appearance of sunscreen at times when applied over the skin. According to the team, the color of the sunscreen can also be adjusted with pigments to match a wide range of skin colors. All in all, the team promises that this new sunblock will be your protective best friend in the scorching heat. Scientists from Hong Kong and mainland China have developed a groundbreaking method to create ultra-thin and flexible diamond membranes. Using a single-step process, they produced a 2-inch diamond wafer, just 1 micrometer thick, thinner than a human hair, in only 10 seconds. At a cost of $129, this innovation significantly reduces time and expense compared to traditional methods. These membranes, with thermal conductivity 5 times greater than copper, could transform heat management in processors, semiconductor lasers, and electric vehicles, enhancing performance and longevity. What does that really mean for consumers, though? Electronics like smartphones, laptops, electric vehicles could soon be cooler, faster, and more durable. Better heat management will improve device performance and extend their lifespan. This breakthrough could also lead to advanced wearable devices, faster processors, and even cooler running electric vehicles. Imagine your smartphone staying cool during hours of gaming, perhaps, or your electric vehicle's battery performing better in extreme conditions. These changes are not just technical, they could redefine user experience across various devices. The team has applied for patents in regions with major semiconductor industries, including the US, Europe, and Asia. This could represent a significant opportunity for emerging markets, especially India, which aims to become a global semiconductor hub. Diamonds, known for their hardness, thermal conductivity, and optical transparency, are ideal for high power and high frequency devices by addressing previous fabrication challenges. This innovation could transform industries ranging from semiconductors to electric vehicles, marking a significant step towards the mass adoption of diamond technology. Our next story is about magic mushrooms. First, what are they? In case you weren't aware, they are a kind of mushroom which contain certain active chemicals that may spark reactions in the body. It can be ingested orally or can even be brewed in tea and other food items. What's more, reports suggest when used in large enough doses, these mushrooms may have effects similar to drugs. According to reports, the popularity of magic mushrooms is on the rise. In fact, researchers have earlier suggested that they may help treat various mental disorders. However, it's not as simple as it sounds, as experts have now warned that using them on a recreational basis risks doing more harm than good. Let's just break this down for you. In August this year, a study indicated that an active ingredient found in magic mushrooms could prove to be quite instrumental in treating different kinds of mental disorders. However, the impact of the drug on brain functioning still remained unknown, something which was also explored in subsequent trials. Now reports suggest that the trials conducted around it and its effect led to a boom in psychedelic companies and retreats in countries where they are considered legal. Not just that, in the UK, where even as it is considered as a Class A category, which are basically drugs treated as the most dangerous, more and more people seem to be acquiring it from the hidden market. And what's more, data suggests that in fact, this year, magic mushrooms have risen to unprecedented popularity. According to the latest Office for National Statistics data, the ingredient found in these mushrooms was the only illegal drug that grew in popularity in 2024, increasing by 37.5% across the age group of 16 to 59, which roughly represents about 300,000 people. What's more, there was an increase in magic mushroom use in the same age group from 0.8% to 1.1% from last year. But as per experts, the clinical trials must not be trusted blindly. Even as they show promising results, as emerging evidence suggests that people who take the drug outside controlled environments can experience harm, including anxiety, trauma, insomnia, and can even show hallucinogenic tendencies, which basically means it could cause you to see, hear, feel things that are not real and even cause perception disorder, some of which, as per experts, is even misdiagnosed as psychosis or some form of mania. This sounds worrying, more so as according to recent research, almost 8.9% of respondents who had used psychedelics regularly over their lifetime reported the harm induced by them lasting longer than 1 day. It can even get worse than that, in fact. As experts also suggest that patients undergoing mental health issues use drugs like magic mushrooms as self-medication and expose themselves to higher risks of their potential ill effects, when what they need the most is psychological support and even psychiatric help in some cases. You see, mental health is a serious issue which requires serious medical intervention in cases, attention, proper guidance from trained professionals who are able to handle the issues sensitively. By no means should its treatment be left to psychedelics and drugs unless medically verified and re-verified just for safety. Therefore, a word of caution and a humble suggestion for those grappling with mental health issues: do not hesitate to seek help. It's out there. Remember, it's never too late to reach out to the right resources. With the Santa Claus rally already underway and the year coming to an end, what's really in store for financial markets next year? What's it looking like? Our next report, decoding the risks and the factors that could drive markets next year.
"2024 was a relatively calm year for global markets, with only a few bouts of events-driven volatility. Investors hoping for another quiet year in 2025 should brace themselves for additional risks similar to the one in August, when markets were thrown into a loop due to uncertainties around Trump's tax and tariff proposals. Factors at play that show significant risk events next year include rising uncertainty around US tariff policies, geopolitical tensions, signs of stress in funding markets, and a weakening job market that could spark more swings. In the US, beneath a stock market that is going from one record to the next, lies a concerning trend for some Wall Street strategists. Fewer stocks are buttressing the advance. The streak of losers outpacing gainers in the benchmark index marks the longest in decades. Global funds are exploring ways to blend the new economy and the old to shield their Asian investments in 2025 from the challenges of uncertain US trade policies and a strong dollar. In Asia, Indonesia, with its strong domestic economy, stands out in investor strategies. China is also drawing interest as policymakers ramp up stimulus efforts, while India remains on the radar due to its still robust economic growth and favorable demographics. Asian currencies, though, are set for another year of losses versus the dollar. Asia faces risks as it is among the most exposed to President-elect Donald Trump's trade policies. Currency swings, shrinking corporate profits, and slowing growth next year add to the challenges, with many central banks in the region having limited room to ease further. The MSCI Emerging Markets Currency Index has fallen over 3% since September and is heading for its biggest quarterly drop in 2 years. Developed nations are also feeling the heat from a surging dollar. Japan ramped up its warnings against currency speculation as the yen has fallen to multi-month lows. The rupee tested a series of new record lows in recent days, and analysts predict more losses on bets for an interest rate cut after the government appointed career bureaucrat Sanjay Malhotra as the new RBI governor. An unprecedented winning streak for Indian stocks may hit a wall in 2025 as corporate earnings weaken and global funds turn cautious on the market. India's bid to profit from China's waning influence in global markets is being put to the test as tighter monetary conditions, a waning pandemic-era spending boom, and a stronger dollar dent the appeal of stocks. In contrast, bonds are set for their 16th straight year of gains, supported by optimism for interest rate cuts and strong foreign buying. Australia's stock market looks primed for another strong showing in 2025. Still, 2025 is set to be a year filled with several obstacles, with global markets predicted to be volatile and the trends this year looking more at risk. Business Bureau, WION World is One.
20 years ago, an earthquake of 9.1 magnitude erupted below the seabed in the Indian Ocean region, leaving an indelible scar on the neighboring countries of Thailand, Indonesia, India and Sri Lanka. One of the worst affected countries was Indonesia, that accounted for more than half of the 230,000 dead from the disaster. To commemorate the 20th anniversary of this deadly disaster, hundreds of survivors gathered in various parts of Aceh. A memorial service was also held in the front yard of the Grand Betul Rahman Mosque, where hundreds sat in silence for 3 minutes in remembrance of the tsunami before praying together.
I am a tsunami survivor. I lost my mother in Meolabo, but the mass graveyard in Meolabo is quite far from the city. We don't know if my mother, brother and sister were buried, but I believe they were, and wherever their bodies are, my prayers will reach them.
In fact, India was also one of the badly affected countries, losing over 16,000 lives. Over 700,000 people were displaced. Hundreds of thousands of buildings and homes were damaged or destroyed as enormous waves smashed into the coast. Locals, including the fishermen communities, paid tributes to the victims in Tamil Nadu by lighting candles. People in Chennai made offerings and prayed for the victims who died in the disaster. In Thailand, over half of 5,000 civilians lost their lives at a beach resort. 2 decades later, hundreds visited a tsunami memorial wall near Ban Nam Kem village, where the ceremony was held to pay their respects to lost loved ones.
I feel that the waves took my daughter away. I was so mad at it. I cannot bring myself near it and not even have my feet in the sand. I wouldn't come around here if necessary. Never. The sea took my daughter from me.
One of the worst natural disasters in human history left over 1 million people homeless. The disaster triggered unprecedented international response with an estimated over $13 billion official aid and private donations pledged for recovery in all the affected countries. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
India's Global Voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one. From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Molly Gambhir. Get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm